Hello everybody and welcome to the video. My name is Midway and today I bring you some more The Walking Dead Survivors with the hand of Aptoid. More on that later, links in the description. But today I'm going to be talking a little bit about officers, or rather survivors as we call them in this game, and some of the little things that I found out that might not be so obvious for some people. So first of all, I want to mention, obviously there is a distinction between combat survivors and development survivors, right? So the combat survivors are the ones you can assign to your formations. So if you go over to a square, you can see that formation, and then there you will be able to see, well, what are those combat survivors that you have available. So if you're going to be choosing between some of these to change them, well, there we go. That's how you can see the ones you can actually use in combat. Obviously, if you go to the survivors tab, once again, you will be able to just see them here as well. Now, once inside the combat survivors, so the combat type of survivors, there will also be different types of roles. So you will have middle, and then you will also have front, and you will have back. That is the role that these different types of survivors use. Even though they are all combat, they will have different types of roles. So you can all see that there is not just combat, but there's also cavalry, and there will also be melee fighters as well, right? So there is different types of combat survivors. Really, it's not just raw combat. There is also, for example, sharpshooters, melee fighters, cavalry. They have different buffs. For example, here, sharpshooters attack plus a bunch %, right? So you can increase that via multiple sources. One of them being research. If you focus on researching a specific type of combat, then you will be buffing those survivors that are using that type of combat, right? So obviously as you go down the tree, you will be able to find here fighters, cavalry, sharpshooters. Depending on what kind of formation you're going for, you will want to be picking one or the other, or maybe just all of them if you can afford it, or you just have time, because it's just a matter of time until you get them. But really, we're not here to talk about what's the best formation. We're just here to give some tips about what to think about when just looking at the officers, right? Because there's a bunch of things that I really didn't know initially. So one of those things is that the XP to level up the different kinds of the survivors, it's separate between combat and between development. So in this case, for example, I have 394,000k XP for leveling up my combat survivors, right? So let's find somebody that I can level up, not this guy. And there will be, for example, this guy again, right? So I am using one kind of XP. Now, if I go to the development survivors and I find one that I can level up, I think this one, yeah, this, you can see I have 2.2 million, and that also counts for example, let me just level this one up, but that also counts for the items that you use to get new abilities, or increase the level of abilities. Once you get past every 5 levels, right, you are leveling up one of those abilities. So those that distinction also counts for the items required between combat survivors and development survivors. In this case, I am using a different kind of item, which I didn't have enough on my combat side, and I do have enough on the side of the development ones, right? So yeah, I have a bunch of development XP that I haven't really been using. Now, what do you really use development survivors for, right? So development survivors will have skills. In this case, this one, for example, has the mid supply skills, and you can go ahead and use the skills. If you go to the survivors tab, you will be able to see them down here. As you can see, I have a bunch of these development survivors. These ones give me lumber, this one gives me more lumber, right? So you have the different types of them. You can see the distinction with the icon they have. So these ones have the lumber icon, they give me lumber. This one has meat, so it gives me meat. This one has food, so it gives me food. And these other ones are combat, they're combat survivors, but what they will give me is specific types of units that I can then use on my formations. So in this case, I have sharpshooters. This one will give me also sharpshooters, or rather this one cavalry, the other sharpshooters, and this one melee, right? So they will have different kinds of buffs depending on what the nature, or rather skills depending on the nature of the survivor. Now, there will also be roles that you can assign this development survivor. So it kind of gives you an idea based on the icon, as you can see. But if they have an icon like a Beiji, then you can assign them to a certain building where they will be able to provide a buff of the speed of production of Beijis. Or maybe if you have these other guys which have the hammer on them, then they will provide a speed up, an initial speed up, whenever they are used to level up or upgrade a building. Then you also have similar stuff stuff, for example, for the bullets, right? So if you go to a bullet building, you can assign somebody. In this case, the bullet guy will give me a little bit more if he was leveled up, but he's kind of not really. So then I would have maybe a bigger buff if I was going to be using this guy, but we're not. So we're just using somebody else who's an epic one. So they give me a little bit bigger of a buff, but it basically increases the bullet production just for having this one survivor assigned to the building. Now, same thing can be done for other types of buildings. For example, if you go to any building to train units, then you can also assign somebody. In this case, I got this guy assigned, who's providing me with a training speed increase, right? So depending on the kind of survivor, you might find that not all the buildings have a use. For example, this guy has quite an increase in training speed, but it's actually a lumbering survivor, right? So maybe I should try and find another use for him, but maybe that's only the distinction between the skill. I'm not too sure. Maybe he's only having that one lumbering skill and he doesn't really provide anything else to the lumbering operations. But regardless, yeah, there is those kind of things you can do with the survivors if you find the right buildings. I'm not sure, not all the buildings have that possibility. You cannot always assign, for example, here I'm not using somebody else on this one, so I might as well do so. On the gun shops you can assign people, but yeah, you kind of have to go through the buildings that have availability to just assign people, so you can keep them busy. In that way, well, you get more out of those survivors that are just idle. You get some buffs to the different buildings of your city. Now, something else you can do with survivors is send them out in the open, and if you find let me just go ahead and find somewhere that I can set them up in a farm, for example, right? So let me find a farm, whatever, level 9, level 8, level 7, maybe level 10, level 11, or okay, there is none apparently. Okay, we found one, but I think it might be occupied. It's actually not. Okay, so you can assign a survivor here, so they will go there and they will basically just collect resources at an increased rate. Now you can be attacked and then they will disappear from there and they will come back and such, but then that's one thing that you can do with the survivors that are idle. You can just assign them to go and occupy those posts. In this case it's a lumbering post, so you just get more survivors. It's sort of similar to let me find another one if I can. Maybe there's not that many available right now because people take them, right? So you cannot occupy one that's already, maybe it is found. It just needs to be within the area of your alliances. I think that's what's going on. But yeah, you will need to first of all be able to access that gathering spot or whatever, because unless you are the right level, you have killed enough walkers of the right level beforehand, you cannot go to those spots. But if you can, and first of all I would have to find one, so excuse me while I try and do so. I think there should be one around here. Level 11, there we go. I don't think I can gather it, but there we go. If I was to gather, I'm not able to, but then what I would be doing is sending a formation, so they are occupying that. I'm gonna be getting more resources per hour, but that formation is gonna be occupied on that position, so I'm not able to use it for anything else, right? So yeah, that is also one thing you can do, but yeah, it's basically whatever you want to be choosing. You can use your survivors to keep them busy and get more stuff out of them, or you can just use information if you're going to be doing anything else in the game. Those are some of the choices. So that's some stuff that I found out about the survivors that you can do with them. So you get the better survivors, you level them up more, you find out more about the skills, and then you find out, well, what kind of buildings you can use those survivors on. So there, for example, the workers, the place here, the shack, I assigned somebody so I can get a speed up and reduces the amount of time it takes for something to be built when I am assigning the right person. But yeah, it all depends. You just gotta check out you know, what you want to be using those survivors for, what you get the most benefit out of. And then there is also the exploration camps, which I'm not too sure yet about. What can I do with them, really? I kind of need to make a little bit of research. I've been wondering about this one for a little while, but I'll come back to you with some of more information on that front once I find it out myself. Now, talking briefly about Aptoid. Aptoid is an app where it's an app itself that you can download from somewhere else, from Google, for example, and then you can also get apps on that app. And once you do so, if you play them through Aptoid, whenever you make purchases, you are going to be able to get a bonus that goes up to 30%. Basically, you get a bit of a cashback whenever you make a purchase, you spend the money, and then you get some of that money back that you can then use to make more purchases. So if you're going to be playing any mobile games like The Walking Dead Survivors or Star Trek Field Commander or whatever, and you want to be doing it through an Android device or an emulator on your PC, then you can go ahead and do so, and well, you just get more value for your money basically, because you will be able to use those accumulated bonuses that will scale up as you make more purchases, and you can also get a flat extra 5% bonus by using my code down below. Then you will just be able to get more for the same amount of money and be able to make more purchases or whatever. So if you're interested in that, check the links below in the description. I have a tutorial where you can just find out where to set this stuff up for yourself in no less than 10 minutes, a little bit less. It's really simple, and yeah, if you use my code and download the game through my link, you will help me out a lot. So yeah, let me know any questions you might have down below in the description, or rather the comments. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, see ya.